Yeah.
But do you find, so there are two schools of thought on this. I have a friend who will remain nameless who basically said, "Well, my character has as many damn bullets in his gun as I want him to have."
Mm,
But for me, it's the opposite. I
hmm.
kind of like the constraints of it. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll come up with a scene and then I'll go to the place or get the gun or whatever and think, oh, that's not going to work. And
Yeah.
so they have to completely change it. Whatever. Oh no, the sun would be coming up and wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
see a thing, right?
Yeah.
Do you kind of play a little fast and loose, or do you say, oh no, this having come here, I'm going to have to change what I thought I was going to do because it just doesn't really work.
I think as my career has progressed, I've told myself I can take more artistic license. There was a book I did called Agent in Place, and there was a scene that took place in this particular building in Paris, and I went there, and there wasn't a balcony, but I had a really cool idea about people getting off of a high story balcony, and I'm like, yeah, there's a balcony on it in my book, So I didn't feel constrained from that, but I know what you mean because I like any other element of tension you can throw in there, as opposed to just having the guys with the white hats up against the guys or girls with the black hats, and then you just sort of have a two-dimensional tension set. I like it better when there's, when it matters how many bullets are in the gun, or it matters how far away these two buildings are and whether or not somebody, could jump them, or how much rope that they have, or any other elements. And if you can build, I mean, I just feel like if you could just add tension onto tension onto tension, and I kind of have this way that I write to where I don't have it figured out when I start writing that action scene. I'm just going to put him into the worst corner I can put him into. And then, obviously you can control the elements, but you don't want there to be like this Deus Ex Machina thing where there's an easy way out, but you
Right.
want to come up with a clever way, for your hero to get out of things. So,
And do you
I,
find you surprise yourself or that the gray man surprises you? Sometimes you think, oh, that never occurred to me. And then you're in the flow of the scene and then it happens. You figure your way out.
Yeah, and that may be in the edits. I've written many scenes that it's just in the back of my head. I've got that thing in the first act that just feels a little threadbare or a little two-dimensional, but it's like every time I go back over it, I can come up with something to make it, you know, more interesting. And I like linking parts of the story together. So maybe late in the story, I'll give somebody a limp that, works out really good for them earlier in this, story, or good for me writing the scene. So, I love it when that web starts to form when you're writing. It's like you have this idea
Sure.
and this idea and this idea, and you start writing them, and it's a very frustrating. I always say, I mean, and I really believe it. I can have a book 90, it looks like it's 98% finished, but it's like completely if I died, no one would ever be able to publish it. I don't know if that's true, but that's in my head. And then it's just going back and editing it and threading it together. And yeah, sometimes it really does surprise me. And then there's some scenes that where, I'll think about them and go like, I always felt like if I was missing something there. I never quite got that the way I wanted. But I mean, it's better to be a perfectionist than somebody to go like, yeah, it's good enough. That maybe the gun's got 300 bullets instead of 30. I can get him out of that situation. I don't ever want to do that.
Those are the worst when it's like 3 years later and it just pops into your head.
Yeah.
I know what that scene needed.
Yeah. Yeah. That happens to me all the time. I finished a book, turned it in. It hadn't come out yet, but it was too late. I mean, it was by far too late to change anything. And I just thought, you know what? If I added a character, that would have maybe made another character that would have maybe made some clarity earlier in the story where I felt like it was a little muddy. And it's just those things you go like, well, hopefully I learned from this, and
Yeah.
you always want to get better and not do the same thing over and over. And so, I don't mind being critical of myself after the fact. And so I did
Well,
the
you always
best.
use it in the future, right? Use that piece
Exactly.
of
Yeah. It's
knowledge,
like do the
in the
best you
future.
can in the time that you have, and then, try and put it behind you. And